Welcome to People. I'm Shirley Lin. Today my guest is Ying-ying, Ying-ying Shi, who is an independent singer for about 4 years now, and her music crosses pop, jazz, and gospel. And she sings in English, Chinese, and also Japanese. Well, let's welcome Ying-ying. Hi, Ying.
Hi, Shirley. Very nice to be on the show. Nice meeting you all.
All right. It's so good to have you here. And knowing that you have a great voice and great singing and everything, it's amazing. I want to get to know this girl. So, now, I understand that to us, you have studied in like some of the most prestigious schools, right? The Taipei First Girls High School, and then also National Taiwan University, and Harvard. And after you came back from Harvard, you actually worked for about 3 years. But all this time, you felt like what you really wanted to do was to pursue singing, a singing dream. So how did that come about? I mean, were you like singing from a very, very young age? You've always loved to sing and great voice?
Yeah, I guess I'm very lucky to have been born in a very musical family.
Oh.
My dad is actually a doctor, medical doctor.
But he sings too.
He doesn't really sing, but he's probably the least musical, but he has a great voice. And his talking voice actually sounds a lot like my brother's. And my brother is a very good classical baritone.
Okay.
And my mom was a classical music major when she was in college. So I guess I grew up in surrounded by a lot of music. And so it just sort of runs in the family, and I started singing at a very young age. And just very interesting how even though my family seems to have a lot of classical music influence, but my passion has always been in pop music and or jazz is sort of a later a new love, new passion I discovered about a few years ago, but it's been a very important part of my repertoire. So I guess it just sort of runs in the family.
Yeah, well, that is great. In terms of, when you were pursuing your studies, I think, was it like your parents' dream for you to go to those good schools and get some really, prestigious education?
No, they're actually very hands-off when it comes to education.
Okay.
They never really forced me to study. It's always like, I still remember when I was in primary school, because I would ask my mom to help me prepare for exams. But she'd be like, oh, just study on your own. It's fine. But I've always been a very driven student. I've always just pushed myself very hard when it comes to academic performances.
Okay.
Or even like now as a singer, I would when I first started, I would always just give myself a lot of pressure to try to do everything. To try to give the best I can.
So it's self-driven, totally.
Yeah.
And now that you're singing, your parents are totally 100% behind you.
Yeah. It also, I think I've come a long way, and my family has come a long way in this respect. When I was a lot younger, when I was in high school, I did a singing competition, which got me a record deal. That's when I was 16.
Really?
So my parents were very protective because I was still so young.
Yeah.
And they didn't want me to go into the entertainment business, knowing that, well, having heard so much about how it's a very complicated environment.
Exactly.
So they actually dissuaded me from taking the contract. So I grew up thinking that my parents didn't want me to go into singing.
Yeah.
But it took me a long time to realize that what they were against is really just the entertainment business, or just being too drawing too much attention to myself, or like doing a lot of high publicity things. So when I decided to like you just said, after working for a couple years in an office setting as an office lady, so I finally quit my job and decided to pursue singing. I started out doing musicals and doing jazz singing and did gospel albums. And these are all things that my parents think are more artistic than more cultural.
Oh, cultural.
Than yeah, and it's not like something that it doesn't really require me to go on TV shows or becoming a public figure, so I can still protect my privacy or my family's privacy. So they've been very supportive since.
Yeah. Well, that is so great. Now, I understand that you're really excited when you got nominated at it was the Golden Melody Awards in 2010, and you were nominated for Best Vocal Performance. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
How did that feel?
It was, I truly felt, because I'm a Christian, so for me, it just, when I heard the news, I was actually rehearsing for a pop concert for a singer. So I was actually working, so I didn't have the chance to really reveal my emotions in that setting. But when I got the news, it was via text message from my friend. I was just really touched beyond words. I could really just burst out crying, but I try to stay professional. I felt it's truly a blessing from God, and having worked so hard over the last few years.
How many years was that? You know, from the point you decided to pursue singing to when you got nominated?
It was 2 years and a half.
It was just 2.5 years.
I guess
that shows that you have talent, you know.
I guess it felt even longer because my dream for singing sort of started when I was 16 or even earlier. So all these years I've putting my dream on hold to pursue, of course, academic ambition is my other dream. But then I felt that I was putting my dream for singing on hold, and so to finally and also when I first started singing, it was kind of difficult because it was a big jump from sitting in an office all day and doing things that I was sort of used to, English or translation or things that seemed more easily manageable at that point, and jumping to singing, being on stage, having all eyes on me, it was really a big change.
Yeah, you had to get accustomed to.
Yeah, so I felt that I've had a lot of challenges to overcome, and when I got that nomination, I felt that it was a really good recognition of all my efforts.
Right, and an assurance of your effort, And the other thing is that recently, in October, you just released, was it your very first EP, you'd say?
Yeah, it's actually my third musical record.
Right.
It's a EP. It just means it's not a full-length album, but it's also, from what I heard, it's a very generous EP, because normally an EP is it probably consists of only 2-3 songs. Yeah. But I have 5 songs in the album and 4 music tracks for the audiences to sing themselves.
Nice. that is very generous. Yeah. So and it's titled To My Grandmother.
Yeah. It's actually
in Taiwanese. Actually, the theme song in there.
Yeah, it's actually I wrote the song myself, both the lyrics and the music, 2 years ago, and ever since then I've sung it at many different occasions, and it's become a very important song in my music career, I think. I've through the song I've bonded with many audiences from different places. So I've wanted to record it in a studio setting for a long time, and finally this year I have the time to record it, and a lot of my friends have been waiting for it. I'm very thankful.
Well, let's have a listen to this song here, To My Grandmother, and in Taiwanese it's called
送给阿嬷的歌，送给阿嬷的歌。
你甲我行伫，你甲我写字，你替我煮早顿，你甲我目头毛，天光一日眠床顶，咱两人去相困。你甲我讲的话，我一直拢记得。 洗衫裤，你甲我送便当，你叫我爱行，我有时会嫌你细细了，但是你甲是我的一切，我拢藏伫心肝底。细汉的时阵，我毋捌代志，拢是你教我人生的道理。我毋捌为你做过啥物，但是伫你的心内，我上乖上水。想要永远甲你做伙，但是你着爱来离开，所以我写一首歌予你，希望你会介意。
Oh, Ying-ying, that was just beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now I understand that that this song has touched a lot of people's hearts, your fans especially. Now, what is it about the song that you wanted to dedicate to your grandmother? I believe your grandmother has already passed away, but you grew up with her. I've seen pictures of you with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.